How about now? Can you hear me now? 1, 2. Can you hear me? Hello? 1, 2. I think my mic is working. Oh, thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. What I was saying is today is not a very happy day with the news of this coronavirus. But I was saying I'm in my sixth decade. I've been through a lot of crises and, a lot of, market crashes and disasters of all kinds. And eventually everything comes to a pass. And this shall also pass, I am sure, especially when we have science and technology on our side. I was just saying earlier, one of the books I'm reading these days is about Borgias, the famous Borgia family of Italy in the 14th, 15th century. And that was a great, powerful family that gave the world cardinals, popes like Alexander the Sixth, etc. And during 1490s, there was again a very bad epidemic. People were falling off like flies, and the only difference is back then they didn't know why it was happening. Actually, it was a very bad case of malaria, and they even coined the term malaria, right? I mean, mal is bad, area is air, because they thought it was due to bad air of Rome, not noticing all these swamps all around the city with mosquitoes dancing all over the place. So today, that's not the case as we speak, day and night. Research labs and pharma companies, everybody is working hard. And first, of course, the test kits, then within 12 to 18 months, they say a vaccination. So one day we will look back at today with enough distance in between, enough objectivity, and maybe we will have bittersweet stories to tell to our children, grandchildren. I hope all of you are in good health and doing the common sense things, right? I mean, we all know washing hands, not getting into crowds. I still go to work. I'm healthy so far, but I understand a time may come when we may not even leave the house, and there is a sense of unease, concern, some, maybe fear in the air. But these are normal human reactions, and I think for me, work is therapy in situations like that. And I read more, write more, I think more. So I'm sure we will leave this episode behind us eventually, because, as I said, nothing lasts forever. But since you are here tonight, I welcome you to our technical business writing Q&A. And where are you guys from? I'm in Washington, D.C. If you have any questions about writing as a career, maybe you are a technical writer, maybe you are a writer of some other sort, copywriter, speechwriter, screenwriter, and maybe you are considering to shift the career path. And I know I was a journalist before 98, and I used to cover U.S. State Department and U.S. Congress for a daily. Oh, North Carolina, Chris. Okay, not far away. What, like 4 or 5 hours drive from where I am. So I was a journalist then in 98, and I told about the story on the video on my YouTube channel. I had no idea what technical writing was. So to the recruiter, I asked, what is exactly technical writing? And then I never looked back because I have kind of dual personality. I am both very much interested in science and technology, yet I am also very interested in humanities, social sciences, history. I love it. So it was a great combination of my interest in language, in English, and gadgets, software. I love software. So, and I also, as you can see, like to share what I know, train and teach and instruct. So all of them came together. It was a beautiful package, technical writing, which doesn't mean that's all I do. I write a lot of stuff on the side. I love movies, and I love storytelling. I love online marketing. So I write a lot about those topics too. But I make a living as a professional technical writer. And if you are considering such a shift to try something new, that's something I would highly recommend to all of you. So, any questions, any issues that's in the back of your mind? I would be happy to help you. And while waiting for questions, I would like to introduce a few books to you all. One is Oxford Guide to Plain English. This is one of my favorite books in my library. And it's a beautiful little book on many aspects, from good punctuation to favoring active voice verbs, to many, many topics that would really help you become a much better writer. How to write in plain English, which is the heart and essence of technical writing. So Chris asks, how do I get started? Community college, online course, a book? Chris, depends on your resources, on your time and money. Like if you have all the time in the world and the money, there are great four-year college programs, technical writing. So I would definitely recommend you. Community colleges are kind of more affordable, and English departments in most community colleges have programs with technical communication as the core courses. Like in Maryland, Montgomery College, I know they have such a program, and many community colleges have such programs. And I'm sure North Carolina, like if you live around Raleigh, Durham area, there are great schools. I love that area, that Research Triangle. I have friends who live there, and I visited about like 2 years ago. So I was amazed how that Durham area especially exploded, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and that would be the case. But if you don't have the time and resources, online courses are certainly a good alternative. I mean, I have an online technical writing course. I'm not trying to plug it in, but over 4,000 students took it so far. It's a very comprehensive course, and it's not the only one out there. If you just make a search, you can find a lot of courses there. And the idea is to prepare a portfolio, Chris. Like, what's a portfolio? Like a user guide, a quick start guide, samples of your work to show to a HR manager or recruiter. And, basically, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. If you can write a shopping list, you can write a technical document, because it's nothing more than, in essence, a list of sequential procedural steps. Basically, you are trying to tell someone how to accomplish a goal. So we technical writers are problem solvers. There's a problem, right? How to program VCR, for example, and how to configure your cell phone, smart iPad. So that's why you can learn a lot from an online course. A book, there are many, many books out there. I highly recommend them, and they are the most affordable alternatives, definitely. And there are good websites. Let me show you my website, because I have like over 2,000 articles on technical writing, tips and tutorials, tcc6.com. Please go there, make a search on any keyword you like, and you will see plenty examples of technical writing, including methods and techniques of technical writing. So that could be a good start for you. Then while you're at it, Chris, check the jobs keyword, search for it, and you will see a lot of articles about how to get that first job, right? Once you get in the door, it gets easier and easier. What is initially a little difficult because you don't have a track record is like the chicken egg situation, right? The difficulty is, just getting through the door. Let me show you my website to give you a better idea. Let's see, for example, okay, 1 second. Yeah, here is my website, Technical Communication Center. Just click the magnifying glass to search. I even have these articles on jobs, how to find jobs. Let me try to share that with you. Actually, 1 second. Right. Let's try this. Jobs. Okay. Oh. Okay. This is a job feed from Craigslist. So by cities, if you want to know, you can, select the city closest to you. I mean, I wrote poems in the past and screenplays, and those are the kind of writing jobs no one wants, right? I mean, no one gives an ad saying poets are wanted, right? I've never seen one. But technical writing is a writing niche with pretty constant demand. Why? Because people are creating this hardware, software, all these products, and somebody needs to, explain them, how to use them to the end users. And that's where we come in as technical writers. So I don't know your specific situation right now. I don't know how old are you, but the fact that you live in North Carolina tells me right away you have a very high chance of finding a job as a technical writer. That's one of the best places, as far as I'm concerned, in the nation for technical writing jobs. This area where I live, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland is also a good idea. We have NIH in Maryland, for example, and they employ a lot of technical writers, even though they call themselves medical writers, right? So it has its sub branches. So you can try more than one alternatives. You can both register at a community college, take an online course. I mean, online courses in terms of investing in yourself, investing in your future, they are extremely affordable. I'm not sure what the average going fee for a college course these days, but it must be at least $1,000 per semester. Am I right? And in like University of Maryland, I'm just guessing, but it may be even more. Whereas most online courses are like $30, $60, 100, maybe $200, depending on the course. But still, it's a very good investment. And books are, of course, the $10, $20, $30 are the most affordable of all. But if you ask me, it is better to take a structured course that takes you by the hand and takes you through a process at the end of which you produce something. For example, in my course, when you finish it, you write your first user guide, right? It has a practical purpose. It's not just learning for the sake of learning. At the end, you hold in your hand something that you can present to a recruiter or an HR manager or a potential employer. So an online course, community college course, can give you that. It can, within the shortest time possible, you can create something of value to show a concrete product as a testimony to your skills, aptitude as a writer. Yeah, we all have to start from somewhere. I don't have a technical writing communication degree. I studied electrical engineering, but I left engineering without getting my degree. And then I got my degrees in sociology with a minor in demography. So, but as I said, I always loved technology and writing. And after my journalism career, when I wanted a change, it wasn't there. You have to, you have to have the courage to expand your comfort zone. You have to go for it. You have to say to yourself, what's the worst that can happen? They can say no. Herson, how are you? Good morning. My friend from South Korea, right? Welcome. It's morning there. How you doing, Herson? Chris, did I answer your question satisfactorily? If not, let me know, and I would like to help you in more detail. Yeah. Oh, okay. Herson, how is the situation in South Korea? I know Koreans are going through a tough time, coronavirus. Oh, it's weekend there already. Here in the United States, it's the Friday evening. Yeah, it's amazing the world we are living in. It's real dark now, right, outside, and probably it is sunny, bright in South Korea. 7,900 infected, my God. Yeah, I know. In the beginning of our live cast, I was saying, 63, I'm sorry to hear that. But I was expressing my sincere belief that everything comes to a pass. Nothing lasts forever. Chris asks, are there any certifications that you would recommend? Usually, there are two kinds. One is just straight out technical communication degree. Usually there are 4-year programs. You get a bachelor's degree. You can even do master's and even PhD these days in technical communication. But that's for, I think, academic roles. Like if you want to become a professor of technical communication, yeah, you need to have a PhD. But if you want to do what I have done, going out there and working for a corporation, I don't think you need a PhD. Probably a bachelor's degree would be just fine. Now, there are other associate 2-year programs that give you a certificate. And more often than not, my experience, they are housed inside English departments. So if you have a community college nearby, and if they have an English department, you can go check with them. And that degree is called a certificate, like a technical communication certificate. And that should be really enough for you to get going in order to get that first job. Because, folks, let's remember, the market, both low-tech, high-tech sectors are progressing so rapidly. I think it is very hard for colleges to keep up with the changes we are seeing in our profession. So I have a lot of compassion, sympathy for folks who are teaching technical communication, because they are not out in the field every day like I am, like my colleagues, my friends are. So they are doing their best, and obviously they are professional trainers, all valuable, respectable professors, all of them. But at some point, do not expect to learn everything there is to learn at a college, at a university. I mean, most of the learning, I contend these days, happen on the job and on your own dime and on your own time. Because, I mean, technology is exploding right now. If I were to rest on what I learned in college so many years ago, I would be nowhere. I still learn every day. I'm still at a website, checking out certain things, buying a book, buying a course, participating in webinars like STC, Society for Technical Communication, organizes great online webinars. My chapter, Washington, D.C., Baltimore chapter, of which I'm a past president and current member. We just had a wonderful API seminar by Tom Johnson. He's the best. He's a senior technical writer at Amazon, and he was with us. Just when was it? 12th. What was it? Today's 13th or 10th? Just a couple days ago. So, I mean, that kind of learning, straight from a senior technical writer who's working at Amazon, he's giving you peace of his mind about what is API writing, basically writing for the developers, software developers, not commercial end users. I mean, it is hard to replicate that kind of learning training at a community college, and I apologize in advance. I don't want to offend anyone, but that's a fact. So, Chris, I want to say, regardless of how you get into technical writing, you will keep learning anyways. So that's why I'm saying it is not that crucial, the degree you get, the diploma you get. But what's crucial is you should be in the field, your feet should be in the water, so to speak, and you keep pedaling. Every day you learn something, you make an error, you learn from your errors, and they review what you do, and you learn from those reviews. It's a constant give and take process, like anything else. My brother-in-law is a surgeon, orthopedic surgeon. I mean, he's constantly at a conference, he's writing papers, he's learning new techniques. Why? Because orthopedic surgery is progressing like crazy. I mean, techniques, materials, methods, everything is evolving. So even if, let's say, you're a doctor, you can't stay where you are. You have to keep going forward. It's a constant learning process, is what I'm trying to convey. So do whatever you have to do to get your foot in the door. If a certificate from an English department is the kind of credibility you think you need, then go ahead, go for it. But on the other hand, you may also try building a portfolio, just like I did. I was a journalist. I went there, my first company, ADP. I said, look, I'm not a technical writer, but I'm a writer. I'm a journalist, and I love technology. If you guys don't employ me, I'll go work for some other company. So it's up to you, So thankfully, they decided to take a chance on me because I had the courage to propose myself for this position. You see? Herson says, I'm a mechanical engineer. There you go. And became a technical writer. Yeah. I never imagined that I will be here in this field. That's right. I mean, before 98, I also had no idea that I would be a technical writer. Actually, I was writing screenplays on the side because I still love movies. That's my weakness. I love Hollywood and everything. And I shared this with all my students and readers before. When the recruiter suggested if I wanted to become a technical writer, I did not know what the phrase meant. So I asked her, I said, I'm sorry, what's a technical writer? What do they do? And like she explained it 10, 15 minutes. I said, wow, what an idiot I am. This sounds like a very good writing field indeed. So there are lawyers that become technical writers. There are engineers. If you're an engineer, that's a great background, of course. I mean, people write to me, they say, well, I was a project manager at a software company. Do you think I'll be good as a technical writer? I said, oh, of course. You're in a software environment. You're directing projects. You know them inside out. Why shouldn't you be a good technical writer if you know how to write in plain English? I mean, if I can do it right, anybody can. Anybody should. I was 13 years old when I started to learn English. It's not even my mother's tongue. And as you can see, I still have an accent. But I love to write. I love English. And I taught myself how to write plainly. You see, I know I'll never be able to write like Norman Mailer, right? But I'm not trying to write the big American novel. I'm just trying to write a user manual. And apparently, people like what I'm doing since I've been employed as a tech writer for over it's been 22 years now. So it is definitely doable. It's not like screenplay. If you're writing a screenplay, God help you. The chances are you won't be able to make it. I can tell you right now in screenwriting. But if you're doing technical writing, I can also tell you the chances are you will do it. I mean, the probabilities are real high. It's close to 1. Maybe it's 0.8, 0.9, depending on your circumstances. But it is, when you get into it, it's a very logical process, and all you need is plain writing. That's why I have these plain English books in my library. This is one of the better ones, Oxford Guide to Plain English. And here's another one. I love this book. It's kind of out of print, but I checked Amazon. They have paperback copies. Why Not Say It Clearly? By Lester King. Late, he deceased, unfortunately. And he was the senior editor of Journal of the American Medical Association. And the subtitle is A Guide to Scientific Writing. Guys, I mean, buy this book, borrow it, steal it, do whatever you want to do. But read this book, because it'll really change the way you write things. You write your reports and documents, manuals, correspondence. So it is one of those books that I keep under my hand, and I keep marking its pages, etc. Now, these days, as you know, most writing is international. We are living in a global village, right? So this book, The Elements of International English Style, I highly recommend it, especially for native speakers, because when you are born and raised in America or any other English-speaking country, there's so much colloquial expressions, so many allusions, metaphors we use. Like someone says, well, this project was a slam dunk, and not realizing millions of people have no idea what a slam dunk is. So in technical writing, increasingly the stuff that we write is localized, is translated to all kinds of other languages. So if, as a technical writer, or as a writer for that matter, you know how to write plainly, and here the author, Edmund Weiss, calls it international English, and you will be appreciated more. You will be a writer who's sought after, because what you write would be ready for easy translation and that means less money, right? From a project manager point of view. So the easier your stuff is translated, the quicker will be turned around for that product. And let's remember that not all technical writers document technical systems. Here's a book, Legal Writing in Plain English, another wonderful book by Brian Garner, Legal Writing in Plain English. Now, if you work at a attorney's office, do any kind of legal correspondence, write briefs, or if you're a real estate agent writing contracts, for example, legal contracts, we write all of those, we sign all of those. This is another wonderful book that teaches how to write legal stuff that makes sense in plain English. And actually, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, plain English is the law in the United States. There was a law passed, I believe, in 2010, and President Obama signed it. It went into effect in October 2011, which mandates all federal agencies to produce documents in clear, simple, comprehensive English without any gobbledygook. So we know federal government or state governments are another good places to look for jobs, because frankly, I cannot think of any corporation or agency that does not employ technical writers. There are always style guidelines and handbooks and standard operating procedures, like in the Army. You know, that's also another good place to go look for jobs. They have civilian contractors. So I cannot think, it is so pervasive, technical writing. It's like the air we live in. We don't see it, but it's all around us, because that's what coordinates the processes, social, economic processes around us. So the applications of technical writing is huge everywhere. So those are the 4 books I would recommend to you today. And for example, let me show you a couple examples. I just received this little booklet about Sierra Club, right? It just popped up in the mail, junk mail. But look inside, right? Like somebody made a research, you know? It says 12 ways to halt climate change. 12 ways. There's a list. As far as I'm concerned, this is technical writing, folks. Somebody made the research and condensed it into 12 steps, and then sat down and wrote a paragraph for each step. What is this doing? It's solving a problem. It's the same core principle. We technical writers are solution creators. So in its own way, it's trying to contribute to the well-being of our planet. So it's a lofty goal. It's a good goal. So even in a brochure that pops up in the mail, you have a lot of technical writing. Now, Herson asks another question. How do you collaborate with your colleague when you are gathering data information? Well, this is the social aspect of technical writing, Herson, as you well know. Technical writing is a teamwork. It's not for like lonely geniuses. Like I love poetry. I write poems in my privacy. It's just me and my feelings, etc. I don't need to interact with anyone else to write a poem. But when it comes to writing a user manual, I need my SMEs, subject matter experts. And within a software environment, they are the developers. And you have to have certain level of social intelligence, and liking people helps. I'm a people person. I'm an optimist. I'd like to interact with people. So I made good friends with a lot of engineers, developers. So those would be my first tier of colleagues when I'm gathering data information. A second source is the prior existing data information. Like if I'm writing a manual, most of the time it's not writing from scratch but updating something. Sometimes updates go up to changing 90% of the document, of course, depending on the product. If it's a major release, I have to change a lot with the document. But to have that as a reference helps a lot, to know what another writer did in one previous version of the document. And third source of gathering information is the product itself. Like when I start to play with a piece of software, click here and there, and like understand the functions before I start to think about the benefits, right? Because the function step needs to be correct. I don't know. I don't care what else a technical document is. If it's not correct, stop right there. You can just dump it in the trash can. Because if it's not correct, that's it. Goodbye. Nice knowing you. So at that level, I want to make sure, I understand every button, every screen, every transition, every process well. So that's my, third source of information. Then, yeah, product is important. Herson is saying, yeah, most of the time it's updates. That's correct. And my company is an international company, Fortune 100 company. So we have teams not only in different cities, but on different continents, different countries. So that also provides me an interesting vantage point because we have like a team in India, another team in China, teams in Europe. Sometimes the tempo is so high that it's impossible for one technical writer to catch up with the whole features and development process. So they provide what I'm missing. So it becomes very fruitful. I'm very lucky in that sense that I have good relations with my other colleagues, technical writers, and I can go to them for help whenever I'm in a bind or I'm under time pressure. So ultimately, Herson, it's detective work, as you well know. It's important not to panic, because I'm not a genius, and there are always things that I can't figure out. I said, what are they exactly talking about? And I immediately try to educate myself on what's missing. So it's important to know what you don't know, right? As long as you know what you don't know, you're okay, you're safe, because you can go and learn it. But the danger is if you don't know what you don't know, then we have a problem. Everybody has a problem. I have a problem. But eventually, the things that you really know, they increase in numbers, right? Like compared to where I was 20 years ago in my career, there are things that I know so well. Why? Because they happen over and over and over again, right? Like the critical aspect of review process. Now I know the review cycle is just as important as the writing cycle because it is just as difficult. Reviews are not easy. So when someone says, yeah, I mean, you have a 200-page document, why don't you have this reviewed on Monday and get back to me on Tuesday? I can immediately say, yeah, wait a second. It's not going to happen in one day, you know? So you gain that confidence from experience, school of hard knocks, right? You fall 9 times, you get up 10. So it's a very social process, gathering data and information. And was that satisfactory for you, person? Did I address your question? Well, we'll have probably another 5-10 minutes if there are no new questions. But if you have other questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. And I have a free technical writing course if you are interested. You are welcome to it. It's a 7-day course. And my writing courses you can find on Udemy. Just search by my name, Uğur Akıncı. And you can always write to me at writer111@gmail.com. I usually answer my mail within 24 hours. Herson, I remember you said you live in shipping sector, right? Shipping industry. Your background as a mechanical engineer must have helped you quite a bit, wouldn't you say? I mean, it sounds like such a happy marriage of careers, mechanical engineering and become technical writing in the shipping industry. Am I wrong? It's like finishing like computer science department, then going into software documentation, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes it is hard to make that match. Like I'm thinking, my colleagues in this area, most of them are like me. They come from a background that's totally dissimilar. You know, there are very few that went to college and studied technical communication. You know, there are quite a few journalists, and one of my colleagues is a very accomplished rock and roll singer and guitar player. She still has her band. They make beautiful music. So, I mean, we tech writers have these very serious hobbies and other backgrounds as well. Just like I told you, I love movies. And if I have to admit, if I made it in screenwriting, would I still be a technical writing? I'm not sure. But on the other hand, I don't regret at all. It was one of the best things happening to me entering the technical writing field. But if you already have, or as Chris was asking, if you are in the beginning of the first step of your career, of course, I mean, you will go the distance if from the very beginning you decide that technical communication is what you want to do in life, and then go and have an education that's commensurate, appropriate for that career. I had a master's PhD in sociology from Brown. I'm happy that I went through Brown because I had an excellent general education background, and I still enjoy learning things. But did I learn the stuff that I learned at the graduate school at Brown? What percentage of that I used in technical writing? I don't know, maybe 10%. If I knew that I was technical writing would be this good to me, honestly, I would either have my graduate studies in technical communication or have no graduate school at all. My BA is from Texas, University of Texas, Longhorns. So after finishing UT, probably I would just go ahead and find a job, technical writing job at a company. And that way I would have risen much faster. What can you do? As I said, school of hard knocks. You make errors, you take wrong turns, you learn, you grow, hopefully you develop. That's what life is all about. We can't be perfect all the time, or every day. So errors will happen. But what's important is action. Action has its own potency. We can't just sit back and think everything in our minds. That leads to a paralysis of analysis. Let me write this. It's an important thing to remember. Paralysis of analysis. It rhymes too, huh? Paralysis of analysis. Okay. Avoid this at all costs. Don't get paralyzed by overthinking. Chris, that's great. Yeah. Chris said, I'm going to go for it, and I'll keep you posted by email. Lovely. If I can help you in any way, in any mentoring capacity, if you have any questions, I am known to do that in my community. I would love to see you become a very successful technical writer, and maybe you can come visit us at the STC event, and maybe that way we can keep in touch as well. And Herrera asks, in field of technical writing, what is the end of this career? Well, excellent question. There are two ends, I think. One is management, of course. It's a path I have not chosen in the past because I'm a technician. I'm a technical guy. I love to do things. I love to create things. End goal. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for people who, create stuff, right? Whether it's a book, gadgets, systems, etc., organizations, etc. So you can first be a lead technical writer, then start managing a whole technical writing department, and then maybe if the company is big enough, you may one day see yourself as vice president of technical communication, something like that. So this is one career path at the end of technical writing career. The other is kind of, I don't want to say my path, but the path of many accomplished technical writer friends that I know of. They either specialize on a platform. For example, they become a guru of frame maker, right? They know a product so much inside out. They start to train it. They have training certificates, right, from Adobe or some other company. And gradually they shift into consulting, right? There are Microsoft Office, Word consultants. These are like hired guns. You call them to your office, they charge you $1,500, $2,000 a day, and they fix you up. You have a problem. All your documents are scrambled and corrupted. You need help, and this man or woman arrives, with the cape flowing behind him or her, and they save your skin. So you can specialize in platforms, become consultants. And the third overlapping path is there are new, what shall I call, real high-tech niches appearing in technical communication field. One of them is like structured authoring, XML authoring. These are really high-tech, deep ends of technical communication. So you can, again, go in that direction, maybe form your own company and start getting contracts and big bucks from big companies, from, I don't know, Fortune 100 companies we are talking about. So those are some of the end goals of technical communication. Or you can go into media too. You can become a speaker, public speaker, and usually people write a book. It becomes like a business card, and you may end up on CNN. If the topic is, for example, people were remember this Boeing 737 Max debacle. Two plane went down, and at some point, people were talking about insufficient documentation, right? So the word documentation was floating, and so was the case of this, was it American Airlines airplane that landed on Hudson River? And people were talking about the importance of training and documents that with which the captains and the crew were trained. So somehow, during some news cycles, the topic of documentation comes into play. And in those times, you can make yourself available as a commentator on the documentation and technical communication issues. And then you can parlay that into speaking at conferences, conventions. So that's another end of technical writing career. So there are all those nice alternatives if you want to go in that direction, or you can just keep working as a freelancer or for a corporation as a tech writer. So you become senior tech writer, and one day you retire and you go to Florida and you start to fish, something like that. That's another more common end of a career, I believe. So what do you think your career will be heading towards? I don't know how old you are, but are you close to making that decision in your career? It just depends really on your age, where you are. Sometimes it also depends on the financial situation, right? Yeah. Whether you have any debt to pay. Some people still have student debts, unfortunately. Whether you have mortgage, family, kids, these all impact our careers. Sometimes, I'm a married man, like I would hate to do anything without asking my wife and getting her approval. So there are other outside factors that factor in, contribute to our career decisions as well. Okay. Folks, I think we are bringing our live cast to an end, unless you have any other questions. I thank you very much. And I promise tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I will have another live cast for folks from India and Europe who couldn't attend. And I'm on LinkedIn, and I have quite a few Indian followers on LinkedIn, and few of them said it would be easier for them to attend if I had a early morning session. So tomorrow at 9 o'clock, I will have another live cast. Please let me know if you like these live casts, because it's free and I'm doing it for you, not for myself. I like sharing, and it's part of a community, forming our community, expanding it. I believe in communication, obviously, as a technical communicator. So I'm intending to have these every week, Saturday morning, and maybe also on Friday nights, 9 p.m. Time will show if it's a wise decision, and also your reactions will show that. Please write to me. Don't hesitate at Writer111 gmail.com to suggest anything, including best time to hold these live casts. So with that, I am bidding goodbye and adieu, and stay healthy, stay positive. Everything shall come to pass. And I wish you well and hope to see you soon. I thank you very much for coming here tonight. Take good care. Yeah, bye-bye.